Wake up, you've got a lot to do today. Feel proud and...
Recently, I've been trying to consume more shows to increase my library of knowledge. A lot of it has been anime series, but one particular show that I've watched that is different from the others was Epithet Erased. I'm actually quite the fan of the YouTuber Jello Apocalypse, but for some reason, I didn't watch his cartoon series until now. This video is spoiler-free, and after you watch this video, you can watch the entirety of Season 1 on Jello's YouTube channel for free. Epithet Erased is an action comedy created by Brendan Blather, the man behind Jello Apocalypse. In this world, a select few are born with a set of superpowers derived from a single word, known as an epithet. These epithets could be any word, even something as pathetic as coupon or dumb. However, there is a bracelet in Sweet Jazz City that can steal epithets from others, and our hero Molly has to deal with a bunch of people who want said bracelet. Probably one of the best things I like about the show are the superpowers and the creative things the show does with them. If you didn't know, I love it when shows give characters very clear and specific powers based off of some sort of theme. It shows the audience exactly what the character can or can't do, forcing writers to think up creative solutions to large adversaries rather than taking the easy way out. It's like playing a game with its own set of rules. Another thing I like about the superpowers of the show is that the team really utilized the concept of having them be based off of a single word. There are some times where the same word has multiple meanings, such as Molly's dumb, which could mean the inability to hear, as well as something that is simple, such as dumbing something down. This can also work the other way around, such as with Harvey's Goldbringer. His epithet not only has gold in the name, alluding to what type of power he has, but the meaning of Goldbringer also means that something appears to be valuable, but is actually worthless, alluding to Harvey using his power in his forgery. Harvey's epithet is literally a pun. The second reason why I enjoy Epithet Erased, and probably its biggest strong point, is the show's comedy. In fact, I consider this series to be funnier than his typical videos. Each of the characters have their own unique styles of humor, so if you just so happen to find a character not that funny, you can probably find someone else who is. One particular part of Epithet Erased that I found to be quite humorous were the slides that were placed before and after the commercial segment. They have some of the funniest parts in the entire series and give viewers a few seconds to breathe along with some fun trivia. There are a couple jokes that miss the mark, but there are so many jokes that hit that you don't think about the ones that don't. While the art style of the show is quite similar to Jello's typical videos and visual novel, I'm a really big fan of the character design, and the color choice is very pleasing to the eye. The character designs are both simple but unique, perfect for merchandising. I also like the tiny little details each character has, such as how the curls in Molly's hair are meant to represent bear ears, or how there is a brick pattern in Percy's tie, alluding to her epithet. As expected from a show created by a voice actor, this show has some pretty good voice acting. It's not blow your mind levels of good, but you can tell this is done by a bunch of professionals that know what they're doing. This isn't positive or negative, but one aspect about Epithet Erased that I would like to note is its incredibly fast pacing. Each episode is around 20 minutes, but it always feels like 10 when watching it. Personally, I enjoy this aspect of the show, as time flies faster when you're having a good time, and one aspect that I generally detest is when something feels like it goes on forever. One complaint that I often see pointed at the show is that, for an animated show, it has very little animation in it. Honestly, I do not mind this for several reasons. First of all, the show is on a really low budget, costing $250,000 for the whole 7-episode season. To put that in comparison, the average cartoon episode costs around $1 million per episode. Second, I feel like the lack of animation is stylized in such a way that it doesn't feel like a detriment to the show. Epithet Erased was based off of a D&D adventure Brendan had with his friends, which can be seen with the occasional top-down perspective shots and narrations from the characters. The typical camera shot scenes remind me of visual novels with its use of alternated character sprites, and the animations they do use at the end of each arc remind me of video game cutscenes. For the most part, I consider this to be an example of style supporting substance, but there are some scenes, mostly in the top-down perspective, where you would be unable to tell what is going on if the characters weren't explaining it to you directly. An example of this would be when characters grab nearby items when you are unable to see said item. Also, the action scenes don't really translate well in this style, but I do feel like they try their hardest to make them as compelling with what little they have. If there's one thing I find flawed with this series, it's that the shifts in tone happen way too abruptly. There are multiple scenes where typical comedic hijinks ensue, but out of nowhere a character experiences a serious emotional moment. I'm perfectly fine having comedies have their serious moments. I've seen a couple shows like that before, but those shows give the audience time to breathe and understand what is going on. Epithet Erased, on the other hand, smacks you in the face with these scenes without any time for the audience to prepare for them. In fact, these scenes feel so sudden that every time I see one, I expect it to be a setup for a joke, but they're not, leaving me confused and on edge. It's not the content of the scenes that bother me, I find a lot of them to be heartwarming. The problem is that the pacing of these scenes was poorly done, making them feel way too sudden. Overall, those were the only flaws that I could find. While I don't find it as groundbreaking as 999, I still think you should give it a watch. In terms of score, I would give it an 8 out of 10. This one has a little more flaws this time around, but its strengths still outweigh its weaknesses by a sizable amount. As an indie cartoon, Brendan needs some extra support in order to get a second season for the show, and while I am unable to support him financially, I hope this video will help spread the word. Since Blather enjoyed fan art in the season finale, I decided to whip some myself. I know this isn't much, but I'm kinda busy right now, so this is all I can do for the moment. Thanks for watching this video, and thank you, Jolo Apocalypse team, for making this show.